church, I was amazed at the reaction of women when I taught this class. The women were sitting on the edge of their seat, and suddenly I began to realize that most women have never heard a man talk. They've heard a man moan. They've heard a man cuss, and yes, they've heard a man preach, but they've not heard a man talk. Because most of the time that a woman says to a man, "What are you thinking about?" he says, so for the few women who grew up in homes where there were fathers, they might have been present, but generally they were very silent. And so there is a mysticism around masculinity that is so pervasive and so overwhelming that the woman is so hungry to hear and understand what's going on with the man that she will give her body up and everything in it just for the cost of admission to provoke a conversation. And he thinks it's his great lovemaking that has her laying in the bed. But she's just hoping that when he gets through with all of his theatrics, that he might stay awake long enough to say something that answers some questions in his mind. Foolishly, he thinks that the greatest tool he has is between his legs, when it is really between his ears. There is so much that we need to say, and suddenly I begin to recognize that women need to hear what we have to say. You see, most of the things that women have learned about men, they have learned from other women. Girl, let me tell you how men really are. You can't trust him, child. Child, you know a man gonna be a man, gonna be a man, gonna be a man while she's curling your hair. She takes you there and she tells you about a man, and she is not a man and has lost her man, but she is your private counselor about what a man is. And what of your mothers who define masculinity on the basis of the man she had and left? And in the breast milk of her wisdom, there is pollution from the pain of her rejection that contaminates your perception of who a man is. And so you treat the man you have as if he were the man that left, and he leaves you sad because you don't understand that he is far different from the man who left you 5 years ago. And then I understood after 28 years of counseling couples how many times I wanted to get up behind the back of the man that the woman was trying to win because the marriage was falling apart. And I wanted to say, don't say that. She thought she was winning him, but she was pushing him further away because she doesn't understand how a man thinks, and she doesn't know how to talk to a man. And in her effort to win him, she is losing him, and she can't figure out why he is fading away. And so I thought it was incumbent upon me that when I wrote the book and when I did the conferences to include sections for women to read too, as I attempt to translate the language of manhood. Women talk in circles, men talk in straight lines. I come in and I ask my wife, what's for dinner? That's what I really want to know. She says to me, well, I was getting off work and I recognized we didn't have nothing at the house to cook. So I knew I had to stop by the store to get something. I was going to go to Big Bear because they had a sale on it. But the traffic was backed up all the way up 75. I had to go down 35 and up Euclid. I came up Euclid and got to Kroger's. Now, you know I hated to pay full price for chicken when I knew that right over at Big Bear they had it on sale. But I went ahead and got it anyway, and while I was in the store, I saw some ice cream and some chicken. I ran into Fred's wife. Can you believe it? That girl is pregnant again. Anyway, I got back home. Can't you just say chicken? So my sisters and my brothers, I came to blow the whistle and sound the alarm and tell you that there are men in this room and at your dinner table going to your school. They are your sons, your husbands, your boyfriends, and your lovers, and they are secretly dying in their cave. They are in solitary confinement. They are alone, and they do not tell you because they cannot speak. He is in solitary confinement, and a man can be alone and in confinement and have sex and make love and make babies and make house payments and car payments and give you money to get your hair did and your nails did and everything else did and still be in a cave of confinement. Sex is no sign that he's happy. I'm not going to get out. When I was teaching this in my church, one young man stood up and he said, Pastor, I hear you, I understand you, I'm glad you're teaching on this. He said, but I just want to know one thing. I said, what, son? He said, will I ever be happy? He said, I think I could hold on if I knew that someday I would be happy. And he said, I just want to know, will I ever be happy? And when he hung up the phone, I said, oh, wait a minute, I got to start writing again because you just gave me a point. And he gave me an illustration to explain to women where we are losing our sons and how we are losing our husbands and how you're losing men. You're not losing us in the straightaway. You're not losing us in the straightaway. As long as everything is straight and normal and predictable, we do real good. It's in the turns. When you go this way and I go that way, you're losing us in the turns. See? When it's my turn, you have to move the way I move. You have to deal with it the way I deal with it. If I don't come unglued, you can't come unglued. If I'm quiet, you got to be quiet. When I get ready to talk, you got to be ready to talk. Because this is my turn, and you're losing us in the turns. I'm going to identify some turns for you. Can I do that? If he's a man who loves to work and is responsible and take care of himself, and all of a sudden he loses his job, for him it's a crisis. He's in the middle of a turn. He becomes somber, silent, quiet, reserved, angry, confused, intimidated, and he's in a turn. You got to be careful what you say to him right now. You got to be careful how you react to him right now. He's sensitive. He's vulnerable. He's in the middle of a turn. If he gets to the middle of his life and he's got crisis with the kids and his parents are dying, now he's in a turn. Death is a turn that's unbelievable. If he develops a sickness in his life, something goes wrong in his body, he's in the middle of a turn. And if you're gonna make it in the marriage to 50 years and 60 years, you got to be careful. It ain't the straightaways where you're losing us, it's in the turns. When he gets in a turn, you can't let your mouth take over the situation. You got to flow the way he flows, because he's in a turn, and you will lose your son or your husband or your boyfriend or your father. You'll lose him in the turns, and you'll never even know that he fell off and you're riding the bike alone. Life doesn't. Life either pushes you together or pushes you apart. It either pushes you together or pushes you apart. Now you have to ask your companion, and you have to ask yourself, are you letting tough times push you together, or are they pushing you apart? You obviously wanted to be together. Nobody had a shotgun on you, I guess. The art of waiting. Jesus, as busy as he was, sat by the well all day, waiting on one woman to come down to the well. He knew she would get there, and he waited. There are some men in this room. There are some men in this room who are waiting for you, sister, at the well. He's waiting. A waiting man is a man who hasn't given up. Take a skin graft and we take a piece of skin from here and we put it on a wound right here, because we're all wounded. It takes a while. No matter how good the skin is, it takes a while for the skin to graft. If you're not willing to wait, you're going to mess the wound up and have to go back to the beginning and meet somebody new and start all over again. And you're going to end up at the same place. I know you don't believe it, I know you don't hear me. I know you think I'm stupid, but you are going to end up at the same place with the second wife that you ended up with the first wife. If you don't fix what's wrong with you, it is going to happen again. 50%, 64, 74%. It's going to happen. We happy now. You and her were happy at first. You're always happy at first. Why you think you get married? Everybody's happy at first. If your husband is waiting on you, if he's waiting on you, if he's fighting off the others, I feel you, man. I feel you. I got your back, dog. I'm coming with it. I'm coming. Hold on, I'm coming. If he's fighting off women who want to do what you won't do, and that's more than sex. That can be kindness, that can be time, it can be sex too. How about that? Somebody say sex, it can be sex. He's waiting on you. Are you making him wait longer than necessary because you're distracted into your own things? And eventually what happens to men, I know men, I've been a man all my life. Eventually, he gives up on waiting. And then you call him a dog. But all of them were not dogs at first. They just got tired. It's coming. It's not there yet, but it's coming. So what I do, this is how I do this, guys. I jingle my keys, you know, just to remind her that I'm waiting. I don't mind waiting as long as it's coming. What becomes difficult is when you're waiting and you see no change. Because if I see you hurrying, at least I know that you're conscious that you're making me wait, is putting me in a strain, and the consciousness of it is encouraging. But when you act oblivious to it, put away your pens. You don't have to listen to me. Go to counseling if you need to, but if you don't listen to me and you don't listen to them, then you're going to be listening to lawyers and judges and courts, cold outside people making decisions about stuff you worked all your life to build together. You're going to have to listen to somebody. For God's sake, why don't you let him in? It's no shame to need help. It's a